There's a lot of you could just beat X on this show as well. You could just beat Triton. You could just beat Kevin Nash. You could just beat all these people. Just beat people. You could beat AJ. Maybe not AJ. You said beat AJ on the watch along. I disagree with that one. I'm fine with them not directly beating AJ. But God, just beat people.
Nash already had the out as well with the match stipulation. Like, he just gets cut.
Let's go over to that one. So the build to the Outlaw versus Nash, most of which we've already covered.
Yeah, because it's all the same fucking thing.
They're all in the same segment as the DDP and Jarrett matches. They brawl a lot. On the go-home show, Dusty and Nash are sitting backstage. Nash is like, hey, back in the old days, Dusty, how'd you settle things back in the good old days? And Dusty's like, Daddy, we take our fists and we fight. And Nash is like, good idea. So Daggett walks up. He wants Dusty arrested. I like Daggett always being like, Dusty, go to jail. So Dusty then makes it official that the Outlaw will face Kevin Nash in a taped fist First Blood match at Destination X.
And what a match it was.
All the other build is just the brawls that were in the other segments. So that does bring us to Destination X, in which the Outlaw does face Kevin Nash in a taped fist First Blood match. Tell me about this match, Liam.
It wasn't good, but like, it was palatable for most of it. There were some fun moments where it's like, they weren't just going for the head. You're like, this is a match where you're trying to make the other person bleed, and you're like, I'm gonna punch in the knee.
Yeah, he starts working over Nash's knees, which is a very novel concept. No one's ever done that.
How unique. And then it's the finish that really fucking tears this shit apart, where the Outlaw is bleeding. And then Daggett and a doctor come in and they seal the wound. But like, he is pissing blood and it is barely working, so it takes like 10 minutes for them to seal this wound and clean him up, just to be revealed at the end that Nash was also bleeding, and that's how he wins. It's as convoluted and as bad as you think it is.
It's one of those where it's like, oh, it's real creative. You know, we have a doctor run out and he seals the wound, and it turns out that Nash is bleeding because Jarrett runs out and hits Nash with the belt, which is what causes Nash to bleed. Nash dropped Snake Eyes style the Outlaw on the turnbuckle. That's what caused the Outlaw to bleed. So you're like, oh, it's so creative. And I put that in inverted commas. It's like, it's a creative finish. But is it a good one? No. Did it work? No. What's the point? As you said, you can just beat Nash in a First Blood match. You can have Jarrett run in and hit him with the belt, and then the referee sees he's bleeding. That's the finish. That's fine. You can just do that. What's with this stupid doctor shit? Why do you do this?
It's just convoluted. I think there's like a part of television wrestling where people think they have to do something big, and they have to do like these big dramatic stories and big angles instead of just taking the easy way of doing the regular thing that they should be doing. And I think it always comes across as like forced and overplanned, and this is just an example of that. Like, we are this big television company, we have to do big television stuff like the WWE would. So here we go, and it's bad, and it doesn't pay off at all, and everyone looks dumb coming out of it because it took too long, and it was so convoluted. It's just a bad mix of everything, and I think it's a product of United States professional wrestling.
I think it goes back to the idea that they're trying to protect Nash.
But it's like, you can protect him in a way easier and better way.
I usually disagree with even the premise of trying to protect people these days, because people see through it. Like, the idea here is like, oh, we'll get great heat on the Outlaw, and we'll protect Nash. But it turns out, like, everyone knows what's happening here. Everyone knows the company is stealing a good finish. So the heat goes on the company now, because the company did a bullshit shitty finish. Nobody gives a shit about the Outlaw, and Nash looks like an idiot. So in trying to protect Nash, you made him look stupid in a bad match. In trying to put heat on Kip, you put heat in your company, and the match sucked. So like, I think the very premise of trying to quote unquote protect people is just nonsense these days, because people just see through it. Even like the post-match, like, Nash went through all this to avoid losing clean, and he still just hits a jackknife on Kip after the match to get his heat back.
Yeah, and he falls.
He does fall over, which, to be fair, people, again, for like Don West, not a good announcer, Don seamlessly points out that Kip worked over the knee and Nash has lost blood, so that's why he fell over doing a jackknife. And like, that's good announcing.
Yeah.
Yeah,